And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Welcome to the Dice Tower.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at Bucket King 3D. Now Bucket King actually came out over 10 years ago, and it was just a card game, although the box was actually bigger than this one. Now they've taken the cards out and they've actually instead added physical buckets to the game. Okay? You can use these to drink juice out of, maybe? Well, I guess if you're a doll. Anyhow, this game involves card play and a little bit of dexterity. Let me show you. At the beginning of the game, each player is going to get buckets, 3 of each color bucket, although if you're playing with 5 or 6 players, you get 2 of each. You're also going to get a handful of 10 cards. These cards are different colors that match the buckets, and so you look at these cards and decide how to build your tower. Now I have a lot of yellows and greens, so I'll probably put some yellows and greens on the bottom. So the bottom is going to have 5 buckets. So let's say I put yellow, green, red, and then on top of that, let's see, I put a red, purple, blue, another purple, then a yellow, and a red, and a blue, and a purple, and a green, and a blue. Hooray, I've built my tower! Now, the way the game works is you have a handful of cards, and one person starts the game, and that person is going to play 1 to 3 cards from their hand. So let's say somebody played a yellow 6. Now I have to play higher than them if possible. So I look at them and say, okay, but it has to be the same color. So I have a 7. So I play a 7 in front of me. And then the next person, remember you can play 1 to 3 cards in front of them. They play an 8 and a 4. So they have a 12. Now when you play a card, whether you play 1, 2, or 3 cards, you're only going to draw 1. So every time you play 2 or 3, your hand size is going to shrink some. So then the next player, he can't play something that's higher than a 12. He could add to a 6, but let's say all he had were these 2 3s. That would only make it equal to 12. He has to make it higher. So if that happens, he has to lose a yellow bucket. So he does that by poking or flicking the bucket out, like this. And unfortunately, you can see that knocked over quite a few buckets, and these buckets are all gone now. However, that player gets to start the next round. So maybe if it was me, I say, oh, I'm feeling pretty strong. I'm going to play 14 green. I think that's going to take somebody else out. And we keep going until one person has knocked down all of their buckets. Now, when one person has knocked down all their buckets, then we're going to score the game. Whoever has the most buckets still in their pyramid, so let's say someone knocked theirs over, and this was me, then then I've won the game. And that's it. You can play the game multiple times and keep track of scores if you want to. You can also play with a variant that ones, basically, if you play a 1, you can play a card of another color, and then you get to draw 2 cards. So 1s are kind of wild, and they let you draw an extra card, because 1s are kind of worthless as the game goes by. That's it. There's a bit of dexterity when you knock the buckets off. There's also some rules that, you know, if you knock a bucket off and it breaks your pyramid into 2 parts, one of the parts is gone completely. You only can have 1 pyramid. Or if something cool happens where a bucket lands top of another bucket, nope, doesn't count. That's off. But if a bucket moves like a little bit like this, and you can still put a bucket on top of both, well, that you can't. But let's say it's here, then you're still fine. As long as you can't put a bucket in between them if you can, then they're separate. Anyhow, that's how you play. All right, Amy, so what'd you think?
I like the game because, first of all, you have to get, it's a matter of how you put your pyramid together.
Right, you won't want to have all of one color at the bottom, obviously, because then if you can't play that color, then you're going to lose a big chunk of your pyramid.
Once I got lucky, and the one I had to knock off was on the very top.
Well, right, and that's cool. So there's obviously some strategy in building your pyramid. What about knocking it over so you don't knock over the whole pyramid?
I make sure I don't flick it, because if you flick it, then it goes pow, and the rest will go pow.
I think so too. You have to be really careful. So, you know, it is an interesting thing. The game is very basic. When I played it way back when, I remember thinking, this is okay. You play some cards, try to beat other people, you take... But as soon as you add this dexterity element into it, where you're trying to knock these buckets onto the table, it's hilarious. So this is one of the few games I know of that actually adds dexterity to a very, don't get me wrong, very light card game. And there's some choices. Are you going to play 3 cards? You play 3 cards, you know you're probably going to win. At the same time, though, you're only drawing 1, and once you have a smaller hand, you're very at risk of going after other players. You want to have as many colors in your hand to defend yourself. The rounds don't go very long. It's like red 4, red 5, red 8. Okay, I can't play. And you don't even have to. Maybe you can play a higher number than the other person, but you want to save your cards. So, and then you have a bucket of that color near the top, so you'll knock it off. Any other thoughts?
I thought that make sure that if someone has like a yellow and your last yellow is on the bottom, you'll try your hardest to look for your yellows.
Well, I guess, but you can't really choose what you get out of the deck. What did you think of the artwork?
I thought it was...
It's the same artwork from Pick a Pig, Pick a Dog, Pick a Polar Bear. I'm assuming they'll have Pick a Lion soon.
I don't understand why they're crying.
Maybe because they're knocking buckets over? They're jerks? The lion starts on fire. I'm not sure why that's happening. The artwork's cute and funny, but it has a very strong Japanese flair to it, I think. All right, so overall, you liked it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did too. It's light, it's silly, and it's fun. Works really well for kids and families, and I think that's the intent. This three-dimensional thing just made the game twice as good, and that's always a good thing.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!